The tyrannical mother is trying to force me to sell my house to pay for her daughter's college. When I refused, I'm a 34-year-old man who owns several houses in our hometown. This became possible thanks to years of hard work, thoughtful investments, and sacrifices I made along the way to success. For context, I grew up in a low-income family. My parents were working class and worked tirelessly to provide a decent life for me and my siblings. They always dreamed of owning a home one day, but it was unattainable for them. Their sacrifices instilled ambition in me and inspired me to strive for a better life for myself and my family. I met my wife during college. She had a similar background, raised by a single mother who juggled multiple jobs just to make ends meet. Early on, my wife understood the importance of financial literacy and learned to save. Both of us dreamed of overcoming financial difficulties and building a better future for our children. Together, we started buying houses, renovating them, and reselling them. We saved every penny and invested wisely, which eventually allowed us to become owners of several properties. Each of these houses represents years of hard work, countless sacrifices, and our shared dream. Today, I'm a father of 2 wonderful kids, a son and a daughter. Our properties are not just a source of income, but also a means to secure a future for our children. I never imagined my life would take such an unexpected turn, all thanks to a woman named Emily, 40, who has been renting one of my homes for several years. She lives in a cozy 3-bedroom house that I saved up for and bought years ago before my marriage. The house is located in a prestigious neighborhood, close to her daughter's school. Emily was a single mother. Her husband abruptly left her shortly after their child was born. Aware of her difficult circumstances, I offered her reduced rent. Though I knew I was losing money, I wanted to ensure she and her daughter could afford to live in that house. Over the years, I never raised the rent. It remained the same. Emily was a reliable tenant who always paid on time. Over time, we developed a friendly landlord-tenant relationship. Occasionally, she'd reach out to me for help around the house. Her daughter, a high school senior, was preparing to apply to universities this year. 3 months ago, Emily told me her daughter had been accepted into a prestigious out-of-state university, a remarkable achievement for any high school graduate. However, this university was also extremely expensive, and unfortunately, her scholarship covered less than 10% of the total tuition. I understood the financial challenges of paying for college and wondered how they could manage both rent and tuition. One day, Emily asked to meet with me. Thinking it was about house repairs, I agreed without much thought. We sat in the living room, and Emily began by expressing gratitude for my generosity regarding the rent. Then she shared how much she wanted her daughter, Lily, to attend her dream university. After calculating all the costs, including tuition, housing, and other expenses, she realized she couldn't handle it on her own. She had explored financial aid options, applied for scholarships, and taken on a second job after her main one, but it still wasn't enough. I nodded, assuming she might ask for a temporary rent reduction, which would have been understandable. However, Emily shocked me by making an outrageous request. She asked if I could sell the house she was renting and give her the money. I stared at her in disbelief as she explained that my property, which I rented to her, could fetch a good price and help pay for her daughter's education. "Are you serious right now?" I replied, a mix of astonishment and disbelief in my voice. "You want me to sell my house to pay for your daughter's tuition?" Emily's eyes practically begged me to agree, and she insisted that this was her only chance to secure her daughter's future. She even mentioned that she had already had the house appraised and was confident its value would cover all of her daughter's college expenses. I asked her if she'd lost her mind because there was absolutely no chance I would sell my property so her daughter could attend a prestigious university. I told her that this house means a lot to me, and I'm not just going to sell it. Emily kept insisting, suggesting I could lend her the money instead, and her daughter would pay it back after graduating college. While I understood the importance of higher education, I wasn't about to accept her outrageous proposal. Her behavior made it clear that she was determined to find a way to fulfill her daughter's dream, even if it meant making an absurd request to a near stranger. I calmly explained to Emily that this property is an important part of my income and that I can't just part with it. The burden of paying for her daughter's education shouldn't fall on my shoulders. I told her that if she couldn't afford to send her daughter to that university, she should seek help from her relatives or consider a more affordable institution. Despite my attempts to reason with her, Emily persisted, claiming I was the only one who could help her and insisting that selling my property and giving her the money wasn't such a big deal. Realizing the conversation was going nowhere, I left, asking Emily never to bring this up again. I made it clear how absurd her demands were and urged her to find another solution. I thought she would eventually realize her mistake. However, in the following weeks, Emily didn't give up. As her daughter's university start date approached, the situation became unbearable. Emily continued to beg me daily to sell the house as soon as possible, and eventually, she stopped paying rent in protest. Our once friendly relationship deteriorated completely. Tensions grew as Emily remained adamant in her belief that my property was the solution to her financial problems. She was convinced my refusal was selfish and jeopardized her daughter's future. Meanwhile, I was losing money because she refused to pay rent. I warned her that I would take her to court, as we had a solid rental agreement, but she refused to comply. It became increasingly clear that her audacity knew no bounds. The breaking point came when Emily began involving others in our conflict. She reached out to her friends and neighbors, painting me as a heartless landlord who refused to help a young girl achieve her dream. She told everyone that I was very wealthy but refused to lend her the money, despite her status as a struggling single mother. Her story elicited sympathy from those willing to listen. Emily even took to social media, posting on Facebook and blaming me entirely for her daughter's inability to attend college. Rumors spread throughout the neighborhood. People sympathized with her situation and assumed I was indeed in a position to help but was deliberately refusing. I couldn't shake the feeling of being ostracized by my community. Finally, my wife decided to contact Emily to try and de-escalate the situation. However, Emily was not open to a calm discussion. She immediately launched into a tirade about how, as a landlord, I had the means to sell the property, which she believed was the only way to secure her daughter's future. Despite my wife's sincere attempts to reason with her, Emily remained unyielding. She argued that we had the resources to pay for her daughter's education, and that we were being selfish by refusing. The conversation went in circles, with Emily repeatedly demanding that my wife convince me to agree to her terms. Her social media post, portraying me as a heartless and wealthy landlord unwilling to help a young girl achieve her dream, had a significant impact on our neighbors and local community. Some neighbors, who had previously been friendly, began to view us with suspicion. They believed I could ease Emily's financial burden, but was refusing out of greed. Others, who knew about my background, hard work, and the reality of the situation, sided with me and were outraged by Emily's audacious demands. They reminded me to stand firm and protect the property I had worked so hard to acquire. The local community became increasingly divided. Some sympathized with Emily, while others supported me. Despite mounting pressure, I stood my ground, determined to protect my property. I had poured years of effort and endured many sacrifices to acquire it, and I wasn't about to give it up just like that. Meanwhile, Emily kept adding fuel to the fire, accusing me of being unempathetic and exploiting her while allowing her to live in my house for free. Her social media posts became increasingly emotional. She shared stories about her daughter's determination and the countless sacrifices she had made to prepare her for college. As a result, what started as a personal disagreement turned into a public debate. The weight of the accusations began affecting my family. My children started experiencing bullying at school, with classmates repeating false claims they had seen on social media about me. It was heartbreaking to see the damage this situation caused to my family and reputation. That's when I decided it was time to take action. I had remained silent, hoping Emily would stop over time, but now that it was affecting my children, I needed to step in and defend my reputation. I contacted a lawyer specializing in property disputes and landlord-tenant conflicts. Together, we drafted a cease and desist letter demanding that Emily stop her defamatory actions that were tarnishing my reputation in the community. My lawyer informed me that this was the first step in our legal battle, and that if Emily didn't back down, we would take the matter to court. When Emily received the letter, she was, predictably, surprised. She tried calling me, but I chose not to answer her calls. Then, she sent me a text message expressing her desire to talk and resolve the issue before things escalated further. She claimed this was all a misunderstanding and suggested we could discuss it and find a solution. In response, I made it clear that I intended to pursue legal action. I told her to prepare herself and enjoy the process because she would regret starting this mess. I knew this would be a tough fight, as Emily was relentless in her demands for me to pay for her daughter's education. She had damaged my family's reputation both in real life and online. My lawyer was already preparing the case, documenting all the false accusations and the harm Emily had caused me and my family over the past few months. Some of my relatives, upon hearing that I intended to sue her, suggested giving her one last chance to resolve the matter amicably, given that she was a single mother trying to do what was best for her child. However, I felt justified in my actions. Was I truly in the wrong for refusing to sell my property to pay for her daughter's education and instead taking her to court? Update 1. Emily responded to our legal actions with a letter filled with threats and more defamation. She accused me of charging her high rent despite knowing her financial struggles, which, according to her, left her unable to save money for her daughter's education. I couldn't believe the lengths she was willing to go to lie and manipulate just to get her way. Her accusations were baseless, and it infuriated me how she portrayed herself as a victim when I had provided her with discounted rent for years. It was clear Emily was trying to twist the situation to her advantage, but I wasn't going to let that happen. My lawyer, Matthew, assured me we had a strong case since her accusations were unfounded, but he warned me to prepare for a long and exhausting battle. Despite the challenges, I was determined to stand my ground and protect what was rightfully mine. Emily might have her reasons, but I couldn't allow her to force me into selling my property. My family's future was at stake, and I was resolved to see this through, no matter how difficult it became. I will provide another update once the court proceedings begin. Update 2. Since my last update, the legal proceedings have officially started. The wait for the court date was grueling. The atmosphere in the courtroom was tense as both sides presented their arguments and evidence. Emily, accompanied by her lawyer, painted herself as a struggling mother determined to secure a bright future for her daughter. Her lawyer vividly described her financial hardships, emphasizing that my property was her last hope to achieve her daughter's dream of attending a prestigious out-of-state university. Emily's testimony was filled with emotion as she spoke about her sacrifices and her daughter's aspirations. However, our side remained focused on the facts, presenting evidence of her false accusations, the discounted rent she had enjoyed for years, and the damage she caused to my reputation and family. The trial has only begun, and while the road ahead will be challenging, I'm prepared to fight for what's right. I'll update again once there are further developments. Her eyes filled with tears as she spoke about the sacrifices she made as a single mother, the long hours she worked, her unwavering dedication to her daughter's success, and the countless job searches and scholarship applications she pursued. She painted herself as a mother who had done everything possible. Throughout the proceedings, Emily's lawyer relentlessly portrayed me as a wealthy, heartless landlord who prioritized profit over the dreams of a young girl. They accused me of charging exorbitant rent, claiming that I knowingly exploited Emily's financial struggles. The most shocking twist came when Emily presented a witness, a family friend, who claimed to have overheard a conversation between Emily and me in which I allegedly promised to sell the property to pay for her daughter's college tuition. I sat in disbelief as this blatant lie was spoken in the courtroom. My lawyer, Matthew, decisively challenged the claim. He took a methodical approach to discredit the testimony. First, he cross-examined the family friend with detailed questions about the supposed conversation, its date, time, and location, aiming to expose inconsistencies or gaps in their account. Under pressure, the witness struggled to provide concrete details and failed to present any supporting evidence, such as text messages or emails, to back up their claims. Their testimony grew less credible as the cross-examination continued. To further undermine Emily's case, Matthew presented evidence that directly contradicted her allegations. He produced records of text messages and emails exchanged between Emily and me during the period she claimed the promise was made. These communications clearly showed that the topic of selling the property to fund her daughter's education was never discussed. Instead, they revealed that Emily had repeatedly tried to pressure me into selling the property or lending her money. Additionally, we brought in a neighbor who lived near the house Emily rented to testify that her rent was significantly lower than that of other tenants in the area. Matthew provided rent receipts from other tenants in the neighborhood to confirm this. This evidence demonstrated that Emily had already benefited from reduced rent and refuted her claims of being overcharged. Matthew emphasized that the lack of any written or electronic proof of the alleged promise, combined with the neighbor's testimony, cast serious doubt on the reliability of the family friend's statement. Their testimony could not be considered credible evidence. Next, we focused on proving that Emily had deliberately defamed me on social media, leading to harassment of my family. Matthew presented a detailed report of Emily's social media posts, where she accused me of being a heartless and cruel landlord refusing to help a young girl achieve her dream. These posts were filled with emotional appeals and outright falsehoods designed to garner sympathy and support. We highlighted how these publications were crafted to portray Emily as a devoted mother fighting for her daughter's future while, in reality, she was using emotional manipulation to pressure me into selling my property. Matthew also submitted screenshots of comments on Emily's social media posts and private messages from people in the local community who had been influenced by her false narrative. These ranged from expressions of sympathy to outright accusations against me for being a heartless landlord allegedly exploiting her situation. In addition to the social media evidence, we presented witness testimonies from my children, who shared their experiences of bullying at school due to Emily's posts. They described how classmates repeated false claims about me, causing them significant emotional distress. These combined efforts painted a clear picture. Emily had gone to great lengths to manipulate public opinion and force me to comply with her demands, causing tangible harm to my family and reputation. Update 3. Emily's social media posts were presented as evidence in court, where my children described how their classmates repeated false accusations about me they had read online, leading to bullying and harassment. My lawyer argued that there was a direct link between Emily's defamatory posts and the harm experienced by my children. The misleading narrative she created not only damaged my reputation, but also directly affected my family's well-being. These pieces of evidence clearly demonstrated the real consequences of Emily's actions. As the trial continued, I grew more confident that justice would prevail. The evidence shed light on the truth and exposed the baseless accusations made against me. I believe the court would see through Emily's manipulations and issue a fair ruling. Update 4. We won. The past month was exhausting due to the trial. My life felt like a roller coaster, full of unexpected twists and surprises. My lawyer continued to provide evidence and call witnesses, each piece further proving that Emily's claims were groundless. After carefully reviewing all the evidence and testimony, the judge finally announced the decision, ruling in my favor. This was an immense relief, and I was grateful the judge saw through Emily's baseless accusations. Emily was found guilty of defamation and ordered to pay compensation for the damage to my reputation, including unpaid rent for the past few months and additional penalties. The court also issued a restraining order preventing Emily from making any further defamatory statements about me. This ruling was a validation of my actions and my right to protect my property. As the trial concluded, I saw Emily sitting beside her lawyer, looking defeated. I glanced at her daughter, Lily, and couldn't help but think about how her dreams were crushed due to her mother's sense of entitlement. This nightmare was finally over, and justice had been served. It became a lesson for everyone about the importance of standing up for oneself and not giving in to unreasonable demands. I can now move forward with my life, knowing my home and my family's well-being are secure. I want to thank everyone who supported me. The psychological pressure and challenges my family and I faced were immense, but in the end, justice prevailed. Update 5. 6 months later. 6 months have passed since the court ruling. The restraining order effectively silenced Emily. The compensation for defamation provided some solace for the damage to my reputation. Emily and her daughter were forced to move out after I issued an eviction notice. Although their circumstances remained challenging, I knew I was no longer responsible for them. I felt sympathy for Lily, but the reality was that her mother's entitled demands had put their family in this difficult position. Emily was also required to delete her defamatory social media posts as part of the court ruling, and the community quickly learned the extent of her lies. Surprisingly, Lily reached out to me to apologize. She had always been a good kid, and I had watched her grow up. After her mother publicly lost the case, I cut all contact with them. In her message, Lily expressed genuine remorse for her mother's behavior and thanked me for my patience and understanding throughout the ordeal. She admitted that her mother's actions had hurt both of our families, and shared that they had moved to a more affordable area. Lily had decided to enroll in a local college and was determined to build her future independently, without making unreasonable demands. I told Lily that everyone deserves a second chance and commended her for taking control of her life. I wished her success in her studies and assured her that the past was behind us. Now that Emily and her daughter no longer live in my property, our lives have returned to normal. The shadow of false accusations and bullying that once loomed over my children is gone. We also addressed the bullying issue with the school administration, ensuring that my children wouldn't face such treatment again. Thank you for following this story. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. This experience has been eye-opening, and I'm still amazed that such a story could unfold in our community. If you enjoyed this, check out our previous stories here, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this.